All right, let's jump right in. We're actually going to travel back in time for this one, all the way to 1959 to dig up this incredibly sharp prediction about media and politics from a guy who was just about to change the game forever.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a total paradox, right? The one politician we all think of when we picture the start of the TV age, what if he was also one of its earliest and sharpest critics?
Yeah, this is the picture, isn't it? The first ever televised presidential debate. You have this cool, collected Kennedy on one side and a tired, sweating Nixon on the other. It's this landmark moment that, many historians say literally swung a super close election. That's the story we all know.
But here's the twist. A whole year before he ever set foot on that debate stage, before he was president, Senator John F. Kennedy had already analyzed, dissected, and written down a prophecy for how this new medium was going to permanently rewire American democracy.
And get this, he published it in TV Guide. Seriously, in a 1959 essay, Kennedy laid out his entire argument. He saw television not just as some new gadget, but as this revolutionary force that was changing absolutely everything. So let's take a look at what he saw.
So to make his point, he painted this picture. On one hand, you had President Woodrow Wilson back in 1919. The guy physically destroyed himself on a cross-country speaking tour just to make his case to the people. On the other hand, you had President Eisenhower in the 50s, who could reach way more people in a single 15-minute speech without ever leaving the Oval Office. The change in scale and speed was just mind-boggling.
And that brought him to this really crucial idea he called the candidate's image. Now, he wasn't talking about being phony or fake. For Kennedy, TV was like this intense magnifying glass that could reveal authentic things about a person. He argued that the vibe voters got from the screen about a candidate's honesty, their energy, their compassion, was, in his own words, uncannily correct.
But, and this is a huge but, here comes the warning. He saw the incredible danger. He knew this powerful new tool could be twisted. He wrote that TV was a perfect medium for demagogues to just bypass facts and rational arguments and appeal directly to our emotions, our prejudices, and our ignorance.
So you see what's happening? Kennedy literally wrote the instruction manual and the warning label for political television. And then, in one of history's great ironies, he went on to become the most successful student of his own lessons.
So we're back to this moment. But it feels different now, doesn't it? This wasn't an accident. Kennedy knew the assignment. He understood that camera was judging his vigor and confidence just as much as his policy points. And just like his article predicted, his campaign got a major boost right after these debates. He proved his own theory correct, live on national television.
And the long-term impact was immense. After 1960, every single serious candidate had to be a TV candidate. Kennedy didn't just win an election, he created the mold for how politics would be done for the next half-century. But he also had another equally powerful warning. And that was about the money. Because projecting that perfect image across millions and millions of TV screens, well, that wasn't cheap. Kennedy saw a future where the cost of campaigning on TV could become a massive problem for democracy itself. He was actually looking at the 1956 election, where both parties combined spent about $5.8 million on television. To him, this was an astronomical sum that he worried would make politicians deeply obligated to the big financial contributors. So then look what happens just 4 years later, in his own election. The total campaign spending for both sides skyrockets to around $20 million. The very trend he was ringing the alarm about wasn't just on the horizon, it was accelerating, with him right in the driver's seat.
And here's where his prophecy just becomes, well, jaw-dropping. In today's money, the 1960 election cost about $161 million. By 2012, that number exploded to $2.76 billion, and in 2016, it was $2.65 billion. The financial arms race he was so afraid of had become the central reality of modern politics.
But it's so important to understand that Kennedy wasn't just being a pessimist here. His essay wasn't just a laundry list of problems. He ended his entire analysis, not with a warning, but with a direct challenge to us. He put the ultimate responsibility right back in our hands, in the viewer's hands. He believed that we, the audience, hold the final power. We can choose to see through the manipulation, we can change the channel on the gimmicks, we decide who succeeds and who fails. In the end, he said, no politician can exist without our approval.
So that leaves us with one last thought.
If Kennedy saw all of this coming in the age of black and white TV and just 3 networks, what would he say today? In our world of social media feeds, 24-hour cable news, viral clips, and now emerging AI, is his fundamental challenge to be a critical, responsible, and engaged viewer more urgent now than it ever was back in 1959?